After a miscarriage, I was still in pain, physically and emotionally. My mother-in-law called and said, "You probably weren't meant to carry. Some women just aren't built for motherhood." I put the phone down, walked to the bathroom, and threw up. When I told my husband, he said, "She just doesn't know how to express sympathy." I didn't reply. I just changed my emergency contacts, blocked her number, and told my doctor, "No visitors unless I say so." It's been almost a year since this happened, and I still think about it every single day. I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm 34. I lost my baby. And I lost something else too. Whatever trust one had left in my husband's family. It started when I found out I was pregnant last spring. I had just turned 34, and Mark and I had been trying for about a year. I still remember the day the test came back positive. I sat on the bathroom floor, holding that stick like it was made of gold, shaking and crying and laughing all at once. I called Mark at work, and he left early, came home with a bouquet of flowers, and picked up takeout from my favorite Thai place. It felt like the start of something beautiful. The first trimester was hard. I had morning sickness, I was exhausted, and everything hurt. But I didn't care. I was pregnant. I was finally going to be a mom. Then, at 12 weeks, I started bleeding. At first it was just spotting. I called the nurse line. They told me to monitor it and rest. But by the next morning, I woke up in pain. Real pain. Not cramping, this was sharp, deep, tearing pain that made me fall to my knees in the bathroom. And then the blood came, fast. Mark drove me to the ER. I was barely conscious by the time we got there. I was shaking, pale, freezing cold, even though it was warm outside. I remember the nurse's voice. She was trying to be calm, but I could hear it in her tone. I already knew what she was going to say. The doctor confirmed it. I had miscarried. My baby was gone. I don't remember the ride home. I think I just stared out the window the whole time. Mark tried to talk, but I couldn't hear anything. Everything felt numb. I had to wear these giant pads for days, and every time I looked down at them, I wanted to scream. My body had failed. My heart was broken. That was the day she called. Denise, my mother-in-law, has never liked me. She's one of those women who still thinks wives should serve their husband's dinner at exactly 6 and ask permission to go to the grocery store. When Mark and I got married, she gave me a Bible with a bunch of passages highlighted about submission and obedience. I laughed it off back then because I figured she was just one of those Southern church moms who meant well, even if she was a little overbearing. But that call changed everything. It was 2 days after the miscarriage. I was lying on the couch with a heating pad and an empty stomach. I hadn't eaten much in 48 hours. I hadn't showered. I hadn't slept. I was broken. The phone rang and I saw her name on the screen. I thought, maybe she'll say something kind. Maybe she'll surprise me. I was wrong. Her voice came through the phone like a cold wind. "I heard what happened," she said. No warmth, no pause. "You probably weren't meant to carry." Some women just aren't built for motherhood.
Just like that. No hesitaste. No empathy.
Like she was diagnosing a broken toaster. I felt my throat close up. My stomach turned. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just put the phone down on the coffee table like it was something dirty, stood up and walked to the bathroom. I threw up until there was nothing left. When Mark came home an hour later, I told him. I said, "Your mother called. She said I wasn't meant to carry. That I'm not built for motherhood." He didn't even look shocked. He rubbed his forehead, sighed, and said, "She just doesn't know how to express sympathy." That was it. That's all he had to say. Like it was okay because that's just how she is. I didn't respond. I didn't cry. I just stood up, walked into our bedroom, and closed the door. The next morning, I called my doctor's office and changed my emergency contact. I told them no visitors unless I personally signed off. I blocked Denise's number, deleted it from my phone. Then I made a list in my head of everyone who was going to be cut out of my life if they ever treated me like that again. Mark saw what I was doing. He didn't say a word. He acted like it would all blow over eventually. Like I was just being dramatic. But something had broken inside me that day. Not just because of the miscarriage, but because I realized I wasn't just grieving my baby. I was grieving the life I thought I had. The support I thought I had. The family I thought I married into. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I started planning. Because if Denise thought I wasn't built for motherhood, I was going to show her exactly what I was built for. Mark started spending more time out of the house after that. He'd go to work, then say he needed to clear his head, and wouldn't come back until almost 10 p.m. No explanation, no check-ins. I stopped asking. I didn't have the strength. My days were spent curled on the couch, barely moving, just thinking. Thinking about what had been taken from me. Thinking about how alone I felt. And thinking about Denise. I didn't just block her number. I started documenting everything. Every cruel comment she'd ever made. Every story Mark had told me over the years that I had brushed off.
I made a list.
I started printing out screenshots of texts and saved voicemails. I wasn't sure what I was building yet, but I knew I needed to be ready. For what I didn't know. Then one night, around 2 a.m, I woke up to the sound of Mark's phone buzzing. He was asleep next to me, snoring. I rolled over and saw the screen light up. It was a message from her. Not Denise. A woman named Stephanie. At first, I thought maybe it was work-related. But then I saw the message. I hate how distant you are when you're home. You're always so much sweeter with me. My whole body went cold. I opened the thread and scrolled. It was all there. Weeks worth of messages. Flirty, dirty, emotional, romantic.
He had told her everything. About me.
About the miscarriage. About how he didn't know if he could do this marriage anymore. How he felt like he was stuck. The woman had sent photos. In lingerie. In bed. Some taken in what looked like a hotel room. I didn't scream. I didn't wake him up. I put the phone down. Sat up. And for the first time in weeks, I felt clear. Focused. Because now I wasn't just dealing with one betrayal. I had two. Denise hadn't just insulted me. She raised a man who could abandon his wife in her darkest hour and crawl into bed with someone else. She gave me him. That night, I started writing a letter. Not just any letter. One to Mark's boss. Mark worked at a mid-sized company in town. The kind that made a big deal about values and family culture. I knew from his work events how proud they were of their image. In that letter, I included screenshots. Of texts. Of photos. Of timestamped messages that proved Mark had been cheating while I was recovering from losing our child.
I didn't send it yet.
Instead, I sent an anonymous email to HR. Just a small one. Asking for their workplace relationship policy. I also found Stephanie's LinkedIn. She worked in the same building. Same company. Next, I dug deeper into Denise's past. I knew she had a few skeletons. Mark had mentioned over drinks once that she'd taken out a loan in his name years ago to cover gambling debt. He paid it off quietly. I wondered what else she'd buried. So I started calling around. Her old neighbors. A cousin of Mark's she'd cut off years ago. Her church's old secretary. And slowly, a picture started forming. She'd been in trouble before. With the IRS. With a charity she ran in the late 2000s. There were whispers of missing donations. Nothing that made headlines, but enough that the records were still in public databases, if you knew where to look. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to confront them.
Not yet.
I was going to collect every piece of their mess. All of it. Because when the time came, I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to leave scorched earth behind me. I didn't say anything to Mark about what I found. Not the messages. Not Stephanie. Not the dirt on his mother. Instead, I played the role. Quiet wife. Grieving woman. Emotionally fragile. I even told Mark I wanted to go back to church, and he looked surprised. Maybe even guilty. That Sunday, we went together. Denise was there too, sitting in her usual pew like nothing had happened, like she hadn't spit poison down the phone just weeks ago. She gave me a stiff smile. I didn't smile back. That same day, I asked Mark if he thought we should try counseling. He jumped at it, said he was glad I was trying again. I let him believe it. We scheduled an appointment. At that first session, I didn't mention the affair. I let him talk. He said he felt distant and didn't know how to help me through the grief. I nodded, played along. The therapist asked if anything traumatic had come from his family. I waited. He stayed quiet. I spoke up. My mother-in-law told me I wasn't built to be a mother. Even the therapist looked shocked. Mark turned red and mumbled, "That's not what she meant." I said nothing. Just watched her scribble something on her pad. When we got home, Mark tried to hug me. I didn't move. He looked confused but didn't press. He never pressed. That was his flaw. He never fought, never challenged, never really saw me. That night, after he fell asleep, I emailed a copy of all the messages from his phone to my own email. Then I made backups on a USB drive. I also sent an anonymous tip to the IRS Fraud Division, linking Denise's old nonprofit to missing donation records I'd found through archived local newsletters and tax filings. I knew they might not act right away, but just the audit would be enough to shake her. Then I bought a burner phone. I used it to text Stephanie. I pretended to be someone from HR. "We're conducting an investigation into a potential breach of company policy involving personal relationships between staff. Please be prepared to answer questions related to your correspondence with Mark, last name." I didn't have to say more. The next day, Mark came home early, his face pale. He asked if I knew anything about a weird thing going around work. I played dumb. That same week, I mailed printed screenshots of their text messages to Denise's house. No return address. Just a manila envelope packed full of every filthy message her son had sent while I was bleeding out in a hospital bed. 3 days later, I got a voicemail. It was Denise. She was crying. Not apologizing.
Crying.
"Please call me back," she sobbed. I didn't know. I didn't know he was doing that to you." Please, I didn't call her back. I saved the voicemail, added it to my folder. Then I called a lawyer. A good one. Female. Sharp. I told her everything. The miscarriage. The infidelity. The texts. I showed her everything. She said we had a strong case for divorce. One that could leave me with the house, spousal support, and more. But I wasn't ready to file just yet. I wanted more. Because Denise had built this house of cards. She'd raised the man who failed me. She had poisoned our marriage from the start. And now I was going to take it all down.
Piece by piece.
It all came to a head 2 months later. I kept playing the part, quiet wife, still in therapy, trying to heal. Mark thought things were slowly getting better. We were still going to couple sessions, but he was distracted.
Tense.
I knew why. At work, HR had launched a formal inquiry. Stephanie had been pulled into meetings. Word had gotten around. Mark was scared, but didn't know what to do. He never suspected I was behind it. Then came the final piece. I invited Denise to lunch. She sounded shocked when I called her, almost hesitant. But she agreed. We met at a small diner, the kind with peeling booths and bottomless coffee. She wore pearls and had on heavy makeup to cover the stress she was clearly under. She sat down, clutching her purse like it was armor. "I didn't know what he did," she said softly. "I wouldn't have said what I said if I knew you were going through that." "You shouldn't have said it either way," I replied. "You knew I was in pain. You chose to hurt me more." She didn't respond. I looked her straight in the eyes. "You always hated me. You wanted me out of his life. You got your wish. But now you're going to live with what that costs." "I never meant." I cut her off. "The IRS is investigating your old nonprofit. They've reopened your 2009 records." Her face drained of color. I kept going. "They have your old church financials, too. Your signatures all over the missing funds." She started shaking. You reported me?" I didn't answer. I stood up. "Drop the signed divorce papers on the table. Tell Mark he'll be served tomorrow morning. You can explain everything to him. Or don't. Doesn't matter." Then I walked out. By the end of the week, the IRS had sent formal notices to Denise. Her accounts were frozen pending review. That same week, Mark was suspended from work for violating company policy. Stephanie was let go. Quietly. HR offered to keep things internal as long as Mark accepted a demotion and signed a behavior contract. He didn't fight it. He had no leg to stand on. I filed for divorce the next day. I kept the house, the car, half of Mark's retirement account. My lawyer said the emotional distress, combined with his adultery and the trauma of the miscarriage, gave us a strong edge.
He didn't contest it.
He was too busy trying to keep his job and figure out where to live. I didn't make a scene. I didn't scream. I simply made sure everyone who played a part in my pain felt their own share of it. But here's the part one didn't expect. After everything, I didn't feel better. I felt empty. Getting revenge didn't fix the hole inside me where my baby should have been. It didn't undo the pain. It didn't give me closure. But it did give me something else. Freedom. Freedom from pretending. From trying to earn love from people who never gave it. From waiting for someone else to protect me. I protected myself. I still cry sometimes. I still wake up reaching for something that isn't there. But I no longer apologize for my pain. And I sure as hell don't let people like Denise near it anymore. So no, maybe I wasn't built for motherhood. But I was built to survive. And I did.